It's our fifth morning, and Jake and I are going to head back to an area that we haven't been to yet. It's really deep in there, but it's still connected to the same bedding area that we've been hunting. We're just going way back in there. This is probably the least pressured area that we've been to. We're going to still hunt along the edge. Last night we were sitting closer to the access. Didn't really see much for deer, so this morning we're pushing deep in there. It's really quiet where some of these dead cedar trees are. We're able to creep through there really quietly and slowly. We're just going to be listening and looking for deer coming down off the hills, hopefully running into some of the bucks that we saw yesterday. Where they ran to is straight to the south of where we're going, so hopefully they went up in there this morning, or there's just other bucks back in there that we haven't seen yet. So we're going to head back there. We got a long walk, and we probably got about an hour until daylight, but we're going to get back in there and hopefully some deer come past. We got a doe and a fawn up here. They're just browsing around down in here. It's 9 o'clock and they're still up on their feet. That's kind of why we decided to come to this bedding area, as we figured that if the deer were going to be on their feet anywhere late in the morning, it would be down in the middle of this thing. Well, it's September 18th here in Nebraska, and it's been really hot. So we're keying in on these water sources. As you can tell, we've got a good one here. I'm guessing this is going to be the first place that these bucks come to out of their beds is a good water source before they go to feed at night. Use that as a tip. That's what you got to do. Well, after just seeing does this morning, we decided to come back to the spot where we saw all the bucks yesterday. But tonight, we're not being very aggressive. We're just sitting up on top, doing a lot of glassing. We checked out another spot a little bit ago with Brody. Didn't have quite as much deer habitat as we would like to have seen, but it did have a couple patches, so he's sitting over there observing from that location. And now we're at the spot where we saw all the bucks yesterday. When we got here, it was about 6:30, and there were already deer out in this marsh. But the way the spot lays out is there's a big cedar patch that runs along the south side of the lake, and off the west edge of the lake there's a big marsh. A lot of times in the mornings, those deer are feeding out in that marsh, and they work their way back along the edge of the lake into that cedar patch. That's not the first time that we've seen big bucks in here. Jake and Brody were here last week, like I've mentioned, and they saw that same wide buck that we saw in the same spot. So tonight we're observing just to make sure that we didn't put too much pressure on it, and basically just making sure that the deer are still here. And so far it's looking good. Well, we're wrapping up here. It's getting pretty dark, but good news is we saw a lot of deer come up out of that bottom down there in the marsh. Bad news is we still didn't see any bucks. And it doesn't seem like they bed very consistently, regardless of what the pressure's doing. It seems like they travel a lot up in these hills in the middle of the night, and they kind of just end up wherever they end up. We haven't really seen much of a consistent pattern of bedding with specific deer. It just seems like you got to get lucky and kind of find where the bucks are, and then make your move from there. But don't really know what the plan is for the morning yet. We're going to head back, meet up with Brody, see what he saw. There's a decent chance we could be making another aggressive sit in a different buck bedding area. But the good news is I don't think that we've pressured this spot too much, and I think we'll be able to get one more morning hunt in before we head back to Iowa.